This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement in the Cape May Star and Wave on the Township website and posted on the bulletin boards of Township Hall.
All right, if we could all please rise for the flag salute and a moment of silence. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Could have roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad.
Here.
Councilmember Perry.
Here.
Councilmember Roy.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sippel.
Here.
Mayor Simonson.
I'm here. All right, our first order of business this evening, we have a presentation from Atlantic County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. Mr. Paul Miola, would you like to step up to the microphone?
I have permission to hand these out to Mayor and Council.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's an update on the GIF, guys.
I like that. The power of the GIF.
Well, thank you very much for having me here tonight. My name is Paul Miola, and I'm the Executive Director of the Atlantic County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. And I just want to give you a little bit of an update on the Joint Insurance Fund and also Lower Township's participation in the GIF, and also give you an overview of some of the resources that are available to Lower Township. So if you look at page 3, I do talk about the GIF success. We think it's the most successful example of interlocal cooperation in the history of New Jersey. Basically, the GIF is a jointure of municipal governments that have pooled their resources together to insure themselves for fire, liability, and workers' comp. And Lower Township has taken advantage of this program since 1992. You know, we set out when we formed the GIF to provide affordable insurance coverage to municipalities. It was a time when insurance companies did not want to insure police and fire and public works and so on. And since we started the Joint Insurance Fund, we've been able to not only provide the affordable coverage, but also develop superior programs, and we've achieved significant financial stability and strength, which the naysayers back in the day said would never happen. As a matter of fact, if you look at the bottom of page 3, you'll see that on a statewide basis, these collective joint insurance funds have saved taxpayers over $1.3 billion. If we look at page 4, we see some of our local results. As of June 30th, we demonstrate our stable 31-year history with a current surplus of $27.5 million and about $50 million of cash on hand. That's important because you want to know that we have the money to pay your claims when they occur. Page 5 talks about dividends. What are dividends? This is what used to be insurance company profits. Since inception, we've returned $33.8 million of dividends to municipalities in Atlantic and Cape May counties. This past year, we returned $3 million, and you folks have earned $1.5 million since you joined the GIF, including a $125,000 check that was given out to you this past year. If you look at page 6, it talks about our loss funding trend. What is that? That's the money that an actuary says we have to put in the budget to pay claims. And you can see we've had steady decreases in the past several years. But 2018, we had a slight bump in the loss funding because we decided that our claims experience was so good, we were going to retain, instead of $300,000 per claim, we were going to retain $500,000 per claim. And that dramatically lowered our cost for reinsurance, so our budget overall went down by 3.2%. So we think that was a very wise move. If you look at page 7, we talk about Lower Township's loss ratio, and I like to think of a loss ratio more of like my golf score, 96, 76, well, maybe for 9 holes. But you can see that over the past 6-year history, you've had a loss ratio of 52%, which is the ratio of claims versus loss funds that you've put into the GIF. Because your claims have been so good, you've had a reduction of almost $100,000 in your loss funding since your last renewal. And if you look at page 9, you've had a little over $100,000 reduction in your premiums in the joint insurance fund. Basically, in the joint insurance fund, we reward good performance through your premiums. So in addition to the over $125,000 in dividends, you've also had a reduction in your premiums through the joint insurance fund. So page 10, I just talk about our cost effectiveness. We have an unfair advantage over insurance companies. We have a very low overhead. It's about 12 cents on the dollar. We don't pay taxes because we are a quasi-governmental agency. We also have strong medical cost control programs, strong litigation management, and the members are all joined together in the safety and wellness programs, the claims management, and the risk management programs. Also, because the JIF is a quasi-governmental agency, there's no drive for profits, and there's no residual market costs. That means we don't pay into the assigned risk plan to bail out that plan each year to make it whole. Page 11 talks about another great reason for our success, and that's the member involvement. The JIF is controlled by the local member municipalities. The members drive the decisions. We hold monthly peer meetings where your representatives meet and discuss the issues that affect them from a risk management standpoint. It allows for networking among the representatives from the towns and collaboration. And what it does is it helps to commit all the members to safety and risk management, which further lowers premiums over time. Page 12 just shows you who your neighbors are. They're in the joint insurance fund with you, and you can see that every town in Cape May County, as well as all but 4 towns in Atlantic County, are in the joint insurance fund. And again, they're all dedicated to managing risk so as to keep your premiums down. But page 13, I talk about the fact that it all starts here. It starts with mayor and council, your staff, your administration, embracing safety, risk management, and loss control, and your risk management consultant, Joe Miola from the Byrne Agency, who does an outstanding job in helping you with your safety committee and your claims management programs. Page 14, Kathleen Brown is your safety coordinator. She does a great job of acting as a liaison between the safety director and the town. She chairs your safety committee, she coordinates the safety training for your staff, and she also gives out the safety information, whether we have safety bulletins or what have you. Colleen Crippen is your claims coordinator. When a claim occurs, when somebody gets hurt on the job or suit papers come in, she makes sure that gets submitted right away to the claims people, and she maintains that communication between the claims people and Lower Township. Julie Picard serves as your fund commissioner. She's basically your representative to the JIF. She looks out for Lower Township's interests. She serves on various committees, including the Executive Safety Committee, and she monitors your participation in the JIF. And I already mentioned Joe Miola with the Byrne Agency. He's the insurance professional. Sometimes he has to translate insurances into plain everyday English. Page 15, I just talk about some of our strong programs that we've implemented. Employment practices liability, public officials liability, our cyber program, and our wellness program. So if you look at page 16, I go into a little bit of detail on the employment practices liability and public officials liability program. Every other year, we have a team of attorneys take a look at our employment manuals to make sure that they reflect current case law or any statutes that may have come into effect. So we did that this year. We distributed that to all of our member municipalities on May 2nd, and we ask that you update your own manual by October 1st so that you can maintain your lower deductible and copay to be in compliance with that risk management plan. We've also recently conducted managerial and supervisory training for your staff. This training is mandated by the courts to demonstrate a commitment to a workplace that's free of hostility and sexual harassment. We did separate training for your police command staff, and then we released a training video for all your other staff that's available to them. That came out in mid-April. It's called We Respect Each Other, and we've given you instructions on how to offer that training to all your other employees. Page 17, I talk about our cyber risk management plan. As we know, and we read in the papers, the cyber risks are many. We have municipalities around the state come in on a Monday morning. They come into a blue screen There's a demand for ransom. We have an excellent program to help guide you through should that occur and to provide the coverage that you need in the event that you need to notify people whose information may have been tampered with. But you also put out this risk management plan in December, and basically it's a program where using a little bit of elbow grease and focusing on some key areas, you can achieve some reimbursements of your deductible under this program. We released two tiers, Tier 1 and Tier 2, and if you comply with the Tier 1 standards, there's a $5,000 reimbursement of your $10,000 deductible. Tier 2 compliance would give you a $7,500 reimbursement of your deductible. I know that Julie is familiar with this, probably working with Joe Miola and your IT people to make sure that you achieve those both of those tiers. Wellness program. Why on earth are we talking about wellness? We're not doing health insurance here. Well, what we've learned through various studies is that healthy employees are less likely to get hurt on the job and they're likely to recover more quickly. So about 5 years ago, we implemented a wellness program in the Atlanta County JIF. We contracted with a wellness director. She makes personal visits to all members and helps you establish a wellness committee, which I know you do have a strong wellness committee here in Lower Township. Helps to develop wellness activities, publishes a monthly newsletter that goes out to all our members that gives tips and recipes and exercises and things of that nature. So again, the reason we provided the wellness program is to help further control our costs. Not only is it a good thing for your employees, but it also helps us to save money in the long run. Page 19, this is an actual example from claims that have occurred within the joint insurance funds. Here's two employees, both the same age, 53 years old, same injury, a left rotator cuff tear. Employee on the left is obese and a smoker, out of work with that injury for 20 weeks, total cost $105,000. Employee on the right, healthy weight, non-smoker, only out of work 8 weeks, total cost of $61,000. Why is that? What we see on these claims is delayed surgeries. Doctor says, I can't operate until you're off cigarettes, or you're off opioids, or you lower your blood pressure, or you have a diabetic condition. These are the same comorbidities that extend the disability on the back end. So it really pays to encourage wellness among your employees and to participate in the wellness program. So what's next? Well, if you look at page 21, we are talking about some land use training. We've seen around the state some pretty nasty claims arising out of planning activities, and we'll be holding some seminars for your board members. And also, we just completed an RFP for technology risk management services. We recognize that doing this individually, town by town, to get training for your employees, to assess your network vulnerabilities could be expensive. What we did is we did it for the whole JIF so that each member is going to have access to online training for municipal employees about how to avoid phishing traps and things of that nature. Also, we'll be assessing network vulnerabilities with your permission, doing some pinging and what have you to see if you're vulnerable to an attack. And also, we'll be developing standard policies and procedures that can be shared among the membership. So that's all I have to say tonight. Inside your back cover, there is what I like to call some fun facts and entertaining information that you may want to read while you're in bed tonight to help you fall asleep. But actually, it does provide a little more detail about the joint insurance fund, about our finances, and also about the benefits that you have available to you. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Anybody?
I would just like to make a comment. Paul, first off, thanks for coming in this evening, but there's people that work in this building, starting with Julie and going to Kathy Brown. It's a challenge, it really was 3 years ago, to get perfect attendance at these workshops. And they hound these people, and we get them there, whether it's Wildwood Convention Hall or we go to Vineland. And I do think it makes a difference to get 40, 50 public works gentlemen to sit in here when you do the programming. And same with our chief of police, when he gets all the police to come in. I've sat through most of them, if not all of them, the cyber one included. So you're staying proactive with the things that we're dealing with, because you know, we do deal with hacking. We've had situations just in the last month that are totally new scenarios out of state that affect Little Lower Township, which really isn't a little. So,
They're out to
thank
get
you.
All right, thank you.
I've been going through your seminar, the classes you have for years now, and I'm just glad a few years ago you switched over and started getting away from workers' comp and going into the other things. The land use one a few years ago was a big eye-opener. And same with the different risk management for not just land use, but for whistleblower and everything else. There's a lot more going on than people realize. It's not just workers' comp.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thank you for the work you're doing. And Julie?
And you're always welcome, because you keep saving us money. We'll keep inviting you back.
I'd like seeing your budget go down. All right, have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Julie. All right, move down to our consent agenda. Does council have any questions or comments on the following resolutions on the consent agenda?
None.
None?
No comments.
All right, we open it up to the public portion. Again, we always remind everyone, if you come up, just state your name and address for the record.
Bill Greenfield, Villas. Number 248, rec center restroom upgrade project. $32,000 just for engineering fees for a
Yeah,
bathroom upgrade.
Bill, I looked at this closely with Mott.
Right.
The issues now in all our buildings with bathroom is ADA compliance.
Right.
And it's complicated. I've looked at it both ways.
What's the total cost of the project going to be?
That's not the total cost of the
No, I mean,
project.
what
We're
is
we're still waiting for such. Once this gets approved, then they're gonna,
Right.
then that'll come in front of council to see if we'll go further. But we have a building that's, I don't know, 40, 50 years old, and we've upgraded
Right.
90% of it, but the main bathrooms. They're the same original 40-some-year-old, maybe 50-year-old
50, yeah.
bathrooms. And even looking next door, where we have antiquated bathrooms, the big issue now is when you're making these improvements with the
Right.
ADA compliance.
Do you got any kind of idea what the actual cost of the work is going to be, or no?
I think it's going to be close to 75,000.
So half of that's going to, isn't that kind of high for an engineering fee then? Or, I mean, it just seems high for an engineering fee to be 50% of the cost of the project.
Well,
I think the project's going to be more than 75,000 to
Well-
get those things up.
Okay, also, any kind of timeline on when the minutes, because a lot of stuff seems to originate at the Rec Advisory Board, and I asked about this like 6 months ago about the minutes and all, and they're still not up on the website. I think you said because of the hacking. Okay. Oh, okay. So I see the events and all that are on there, but even the meeting schedule, isn't on there, so. I mean, like the pool and this, I mean, just a
Right.
lot of stuff originates from there. I mean, this way we'd have a heads up before we read something in the agenda about what's going on, you know? Okay, all right. thanks.
even, Bill, honestly, 7 years ago, we were talking about doing something with these bathrooms,
Oh,
and
okay.
it just, it's one of those gets pushed back, pushed back, pushed back.
Oh,
And-
yeah,
And this time around, you
I'm
know.
sure
I
there's a
mean,
need to upgrade them. I just thought that was high for an engineering fee, so. Okay, thanks.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we close the public portion.
Approval of the minutes from July 16, 2018. Resolutions 2018-246 through 2018-257. Ordinance number 2018-13, an ordinance amending Chapter 475, Parks and Recreation of the Code of the Township of Lower, adding Section 16 to Article 4, fees and reimbursements in order to establish a memorial bench dedication program. Ordinance 2018-14, amending Chapter 617, Trailers, Article 2, Trailer Regulations, Section 15 of the Code of the Township of Lower, to add a new section, 617-15G2, to regulate the use and occupancy of shipping containers in residential dwellings. Ordinance 2018-15, an ordinance of the Township of Lower releasing, extinguishing, and vacating the public rights to a portion of Lucille Avenue. 2018-16, an ordinance authorizing the Township of Lower to convey a deed of easement to the property owners of Block 369.01, Lot 1, in order to provide said owners access to the village road right-of-way in order to allow for the repair, reconstruction, and maintenance of the bulkhead located within the village road right-of-way. And ordinance 2018-17, an ordinance authorizing the Township of Lower to accept a deed of easement from the property owners of Block 369.01, Lot 1, in order to permit the Township of Lower to maintain, construct, and repair the dune and beach water ward to the existing bulkhead through a portion of Block 369.01, Lot 1. This is the first reading of ordinances 2018-13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. The second reading and public hearing of each of these ordinances is scheduled for August 20th.
Motion to approve. Thank you, that was great.
Can you repeat that?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Roy?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sippel?
Yes.
Mayor Simonson?
Yes. All right, we have no regular agenda this evening, so we go down to the manager's report.
I have a few items this evening, and some are ongoing. First off, it's been a while since we heard from Dr. Farrell at Stockton, and he sent a letter through last week that the DEP and Army Corps of Engineers are still completing the feasibility study that would give us the berm dune from Cape May Beach up through the Villas. And this berm obviously would support the DEP's 540 rule, which will continue to suppress the new flood map in legislation and future insurance issues that the property owners in the Villas could be facing in 2021 or 22. Stu still feels confident we're going to get, I'll call it dredge spoils from the middle of the bay on our beach. The question becomes the height of that. But if it's 7 to 8 feet, obviously we'd like to get something closer to 14 and a half. But at this point in time, we're still hoping this project gets funded by the federal government. With the breakdowns from federal to the state, it will be a welcome project in the township. Secondly, last week, you remember we have a gentleman that's working on the opportunity zones in the airport. His name's Jim Rutala, and last week he sent me that the Saxum Corporation is the first company to step up, and they're funding $100 million towards opportunity zones. This legislation isn't even in effect yet, and you have a company that's putting up this kind of money. This, along with Senator Van Drew's bill, which this council supported, along with the mayor, which also, today in the paper, our governor has not signed it yet, but that bill will also make the airport very enticing to people, because any new employees that will be hired there, the business owners get a $5,000 credit. So there's an incentive for folks to come in there. And again, you're going to hear more about the opportunity zones moving forward. It's better than a 1031 exchange in that these investors could come in there and repeal capital gains taxes instead of deferring such. So it'll be interesting to watch how this unfolds, and keep in mind this was Senator Booker's program that went to Murphy. So Governor Murphy, I feel, is going to support this. and it's bigger than the airport because some of this track extends up here to Bayshore Road, which are a couple things we're looking at now to see if possibly this housing project can find benefits there when that comes to fruition, possibly for homeowners with lower rate mortgages. At our next council meeting, EDA, which is obviously another one of our engineering firms that we work with, I saw the plans today, went over them, and they'll be bringing them in front of council and doing a work session in 2 weeks for the conceptual plans for upgrading from the Lucky Bones to the small bridge there and moving ahead in improvements to Wilson Boulevard and establishing that Skellinger Landing is Lower Township. You'll hear about that. We're looking at signage on that small bridge, which will tell people when they're going into Cape May, they're leaving Lower Township. When they're coming the other way, they're entering Lower Township when they come over the small bridge, not the big bridge. I'm sure Deputy Mayor Sipple will discuss it, but I just want to congratulate our chief in that the police camp last year, with the first year being embryonic, was good. This year they took it to the next level, and I'll let our deputy mayor discuss some of those things, but the myriad of activities that they had these kids doing, I'm sure some of them never had the opportunity to do a few of those things, especially at the Coast Guard base, in our ocean, etc. Lastly, I gave you folks reports that I had drawn up from our CFO this afternoon because we are finishing up our work in West Cape May. And even before that is finished up, you will see that we anticipated $420,000 this year in Boca for the year. And as of today, we've already, in permits, achieved $403,000. So we are going to far away exceed what was budgeted. And again, those folks have been very busy, and that's all I have.
Jim, I wanted to comment on a couple things. I'll jump in real quick. And one of this is the bill that you're talking about for the opportunity zones. That's something the manager and I had met several times with Cape May Brewery and Ryan Krill and his crew over there. And I know they had been telling us that it was coming through Grow New Jersey and some other organizations, and it finally got here, this bill. And again, I wrote a letter in support, and the timing was perfect because Lauren had just done our press release with the fact that we were awarded the opportunity zone. So along with that and the letter from myself and council supporting it, we're pretty optimistic that that will get signed by the governor. And it's huge because I remember some years ago trying to put an economic development committee together, which really went nowhere, and here we're getting it done. It's an area that's growing, and it's only going to bring more jobs and more opportunities to Lower Township. And along with that, another vision that myself and the manager had and council was in meeting with some of the business owners at Skellinger's Landing, some of the fisheries that we have here in Lower Township, was Skellinger's Landing gets overlooked so many times, and it's such a huge tourist attraction, along with, obviously, our neighbors, Cape May City, is a huge tourist attraction. But between the restaurants and the marinas and the party boats, fishing boats, we have the whale watcher back there. We wanted to make, what we were looking at was a marine community district, and there are other districts like that throughout the state and along the East Coast, to make it a community district, marine community district, and kind of tie all those businesses together from the Parkway Bridge to the drawbridge entering Cape May, and making that a special little destination right here in Lower Township, and making sure that we promote it as such. So that's something, when we saw these grants that were being offered, we jumped on them, and we're going to move ahead and get money to do it, and it's hopefully not going to cost us anything. So, it's just another way to better the community, but I think that'll be obviously a really cool thing for our town. Skellinger's Landing's been there for forever, but to really magnify it and show it off, make it a showcase for everyone. But along with that, I'll pass it off to Tom, and I will hold the rest of my thoughts for a few moments.
Okay. Got a few things. One, Village Volunteer Fire Company sent out their fund drive. Please, if you could help them out, do so. This is for the fire company. They help, this fund drive helps keep the taxes down from the fire commissioners who actually do the taxes side of it. The more they get, the less they have to ask for things to be spent on taxes. DAV, they've been asking for help because of insurance. I believe that situation is solved, but of course, then again, their well went this weekend, so any help anybody could give to the DAV for money and donations, and I'm sure it'd be greatly appreciated. A couple months ago, I brought up the 609 area code. They're coming up, Verizon's coming up with a new area code, and you're now going to have to do all 10 digits for dialing any phone calls down here, starting August 18th. In other words, before our next meeting, that 609 has to be put on, or the calls are not going through. Trying to warn everybody, check your cell phones, add that 609 in automatically. Road construction is getting a little bit better, but it's throughout the village. You're seeing roads being torn up. The MUA is going through and getting water everywhere. We are working on more beach access in the village. We're trying to get permission right now to get an idea of how many spots we're going to be hitting now, and permission to go on the properties to do that. And the last thing was just a nice little thing. For those of you going to the concerts and you missed last week for Desert Highway because it's like the Eagles, it's kicked back, it's relaxed. Hopefully we're getting them back because they rocked. They were really, really good. Please come out to the concerts. We got the 52nd Street Band coming up. Very good Billy Joel. And then, of course, everyone says my favorite, Separate Ways, but Desert Highway might have jumped on that one because, as I said, they were good. Dave?
A couple things. This council's been talking about infrastructure improvements for quite a long time, and as proved tonight, we passed another resolution which is going to start our road program, paving program. In conjunction with that, South Jersey Gas is going to be installing new gas mains throughout North Cape May section of Lower Township. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the infrastructure under the roadway is taken care of and maintained and in good condition prior to us going in and spending money and paving these roads. So all this is about to start within the next week or so, I believe. Am I correct there, Mr. Ridgway, with the gas company?
Yep.
So those projects are coming to fruition. They're going to be starting shortly. Another thing for the people back in the Roseanne Avenue area, they'll be starting back there within the next week or two on the lot on Clearwater where the pump station is going to be. They're going to start in the back of the Roseanne Avenue track and work towards Bayshore Road. So their first section is going to be that pump station. So construction is going to be starting back there within the next couple of weeks. So that's another project that we worked hard to make sure it came to fruition. This one is getting started. Last but not least, Beach Drive in North Cape May, great project. A lot of work went into that. We planted a lot of dune grass. We put a lot of sand in. Just a word to the wise, please stay off the dunes. People are now going through the dunes, trampling the new dune grass that's been put in there, and we are going to be keeping a very close eye on that. We did pass an ordinance. It is a local ordinance violation, and trespassers will be prosecuted. So just a word to the wise.
Okay, the only thing I really have to add to the previous comments is tomorrow night is National Night Out at the ferry terminal. It's conducted between 5 and 7 p.m. There'll be lots of family events to be held there. There's lots of demonstrations that are going to be sponsored by the various community organizations. And if you have an opportunity to come out and support the National Night Out, the police department will be there in force. And again, bring your families. It should be a very nice time. Thank you.
Okay, a couple of things. I guess we'll first start with the manager. Mentioned about the youth camp that we finished up last week, and he's correct. It was a great camp. We doubled the size from last year to this year. I'll mention just a few things that they did actually for the 5 days. They had a four-hour fishing trip. They arrived on a Silver Bullet speedboat, Maury's Water Park, and the rides, the Coast Guard base experience. I went through a tour there. They did a tree-to-tree with zip line at the county park on Friday with the graduation and a barbecue. We had all the family members come up, and we actually gave them all certificates. And I spent several days with the kids, and they all had a smile from ear to ear, and those kids will remember that for a lifetime. And there's no doubt that's the best camp in Cape County. And I want to take my hat off to the police department because last year we were struggling to get this thing going, and they jumped in, they helped out, and now they actually just taken over the whole camp. So I appreciate that help, and it's a good thing for the kids of Lower Township. The second thing I have here is actually different from youth camp is the Children's Assistance Fund that we have at the Recreation Department, and we raise money throughout the year for this. And the mayor's want to touch base on the concert series, but just remember the last concert, August 29th, is a fundraiser for that fund right there, and it actually puts out $150 per student that needs some type of aid as far as then they got youth activities. It doesn't matter if it's playing instruments, riding bikes, anything to do with kids. We're going to help the parents out. So again, if you can get there August 29th and help us raise money, we greatly appreciate it. So that's all I have.
It's great. It's good stuff. That camp was phenomenal. Again, just want to congratulate our own police department, also the police departments in Wildwood and Middle Township, because I know we did some joint activities as well, correct? And I know, like the deputy mayor said last year, they were struggling to fill it up, and this year they were bursting at the seams, so to speak, and I think they're even talking about expanding it next year. And I know it was great seeing the police officers with all the kids. The police officers were actually our counselors and interacting with all the kids, Cape Assist, and all the people that donated to the cause, and I know that will even grow more. So excellent job, Deputy Mayor, and our police force. I have a couple announcements. For those of you following, we have, for upgrades and bridge improvements, local concept development studies for the Ocean Drive, County Road 621. We've had some meetings in the past. There is mayors and administrators meeting coming up, but there's one open to the public for public information. They'll be held on Thursday, August 23rd at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. The presentations, there'll be community stakeholder meetings and public information center meetings, and they will be held also at the, what's that?
I think they're here at Town Hall.
They're in our town hall, yeah. The one is at the administration building in the county, but the ones for the public information are going to be held right here at Town Hall. Please contact Julie, our clerk, if you need any more information. If anyone was at the past, they had 2 meetings before that were, I think they're moving ahead with this. This is something that's been coming for a long time, but it is up and running, and we hope to continue to gather information on this because it's obviously very important. And again, that's the Ocean Drive Bridge project. I got
Mayor?
a bunch of stuff here. Yes, sir.
May I add one more thing?
Yes.
Well, I didn't make a note of it, but as we're talking, because there's obviously a lot going on in Lower Township right now, but a lot of work went into this past Saturday morning. Our rec department was down on that bayfront at 5:30 in the morning in a teeming rainstorm, and that race went off without a hitch with close to 300 competitors, and it was just a beautiful setup for those folks going along the bay because the weather went from horrible in an hour and a half. It was a well-run race. Again, good cooperation with Town Bank Fire and feeding the people. And our director has told me that next year Delmo Sports wants to get involved with us on that race, which I'm excited about because I don't need to sell you folks on how Delmo promotes an event. So it's the Coombs Douglas. It's been tradition for many years, and there's hundreds of races now. It's everywhere. So to keep that going, you just have to keep pushing. But
Absolutely.
it was a great morning.
Thank you. And I'm going to also let you jump in on this, Manager Ridgway, because I know that you were a driving force behind this, and this is something we talked about, but it's finally coming to fruition, and that is through our rec center, we have Rock in the Rec, which is a new youth programming and guitar and piano class. Students, and I won't get into the whole, if you need more information, please call the rec department, but the class is intended for students with no experience in guitar or piano. You can choose one instrument per session. The students will be students in grades 4, 5, and 6, and registration will be September 14th through September 28th. And you can register right at the rec center. The fee is $40 per child, and that's for a 10-week class. So just for your information, I teach music, and if you go to get a piano lesson somewhere, a guitar lesson, it's usually $50 a half hour. So $40 for 10 weeks is a bargain, to say the least. And we also have it being taught by two legends in our community, and that is Mr. and Mrs. Yurevich, otherwise known as Mr. and Mrs. J, who were music educators here for many decades. And that will take place at the Millman Center. We'll be utilizing the Millman Center for that. And along with that, we also have a Movie Maker Studios program, and that's where new youth programming learn to create your own movies. And they'll be learning, obviously, different programs using different software, Sony Handycams, audio video editing class, and that's also no experience necessary. The same age group, grades 4, 5, and 6. Same registration date, September 14th through the 28th. The same fee, $40 per child. That's for a 12-week class.
Same thing, Mayor, just
Yep.
to piggyback that. You'll notice in this press release, which is coming out, the instructor of the video course is also the head of the TV media program at the high school. She's offering Final Cut Pro and Final Cut Pro X to kids. What the mayor said, $40. I attended a 2-day session for Final Cut Pro, which was just touching the surface, and that was $350 about 12 years ago. So for a family that has a son or daughter that maybe isn't into some of our sports programs, between the music and the computers, I think we're becoming more well-rounded, and I anticipate those programs selling out instantly. And lastly, this is coming about from a Comcast grant from years ago that we're utilizing, getting this stuff going. And it has been. We started talking about this with Cape Assist last January, and our rec department has taken the challenge, got this going, and you'll be hearing about the bike program also, which is also in the same realm. So
And the toddler program. Got all kinds of stuff going on.
Absolutely.
We'll have that for the next meeting. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Tomorrow night, Wednesday evening, August 8th, Senator Cory Booker will be in Lower Township at our sunset flag ceremony out at Sunset Beach. The Humes put that on every night. If you go down there, I ride my bike down there 3 times a week at least, and it's the same every night. You can't get a parking spot. It's mobbed. I mean, it's become nationally known tradition here in Lower Township. People come from all over, and that's at sunset. I would get there early for a parking spot, or so you don't have to walk a mile down. But at sunset, they do the flag retiring ceremony, and it's really great. They always dedicate it to a different veteran, and that again is at sunset on Wednesday evening. This Wednesday, August 8th. We also have meetings coming up in the near future. We're in talks right now with New Jersey Transit, something I know that we've been working on for a long time, but I intend to confirm very, very soon, and that is the New Jersey Transit will be coming to the airport area. Our courts are moving back shortly. Our police building is finished. You have a new, the Everlon building is coming down if you've driven by. We're going to have a brand new, what are we calling that? The media tech village. There's all kinds of things going on back there. Cape May Brewer is expanding, all kinds of other, this opportunity zone that we have coming in, and we're going to have public transportation to the airport shortly, which is going to be huge for Lower Township. And last but not least, I'm going to cap it off as athletic director, and that is we open it to the public and all the media, all of you guys, if you can make it out this Saturday, August 11th. Temple University is holding an official football practice at Lower Cape May Regional, and it's going to be a great experience. The head of football operations, Scott Wallace, was down touring our campus last week. Our head coach Brian Hindle, and our business administrator Mark Mallett, along with all of our administrators, have welcomed them with open arms. They're going to be using all of our facilities, our football field, Steven Steger Field, our practice field, and our new field house facility. It's open to the public. We're inviting all the youth programs to come and watch and see a Division I football program, which now is one of the better ones in the country. And if you remember back, those of you that follow college football, wasn't always the case. But over the last 5 or 6 years, Temple football has become a very respected program in Division I football, in bowl games every year, and a lot of their players are going on to play in the NFL, et cetera. But we're real excited about it. Like I said, it's going to be an official practice held right at Lower Cape May Regional High School. So we invite everybody to come out. Young, old, indifferent, come out and just, be on hand to witness, like I said, a Division I football practice. Should be pretty cool. They'll be talking with the public as well, and there'll be some activities going on there. That's it, I think.
You have a time with that?
Yeah, 8 to 11, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's right at the high school on the football field. Hopefully it's not as hot as it was today, but, and with that, we open it up to the public. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order? Just ask you to state your name and address for the record.
Hello, everyone. My name's Emmett Vandergrift. I'm actually a resident of Dennis Township. I live at 179 Washington Avenue. I'm here tonight, not only a resident of the county, but as the owner and one of the founders of Evergreen Curative LLC. I will have some handouts here if I have permission to pass them out to you guys. Just to give you a little background, Evergreen Curative LLC is a New Jersey-based healthcare professional-founded medical marijuana organization. I'm here today basically, as of the 1st of August, the state of New Jersey released 6 more medicinal marijuana licenses to go out for application. All 6 of these licenses are vertically integrated, which means not only can you cultivate and dispense and manufacture, but you can also do that on multiple different sites. Evergreen Curative will operate as a supportive and accessible business partner with our host community and the state of New Jersey throughout implementing ethical and compliant business practices at all operational levels. Additionally, our business plan anticipates adding tangible value through approximately 160 full-time jobs in the cultivational facility. We plan for building between 5 to 6 15,000 square foot greenhouses on a 30-acre farming parcel with over 160 full-time equivalents in total with processing and 5 dispensaries. We look to be hiring veterans, minorities, women, and local community-based residents and managerial, cultivation, and administrative positions, salaries ranging from anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000 per year with benefits. We're going to be working with the local government officials to create meaningful community benefits as well as charitable programs and services. We're going to be directing significant portions of construction expenditures to local business and employees in the form of hiring and procuring materials. All the while, we will be paying an estimated annual generic 7% of sales tax. Now, with that, as foreseen to be projected in the future with Governor Murphy's signing of this bill to the legalization, I mean, the medicinal licenses will have first crack at the legal market, which then the taxes are to go from 7% to 14% to projected to be 25%. Now, we're not only going to be doing this by ourselves, but we've basically secured a very creative partner, Sea Hunter Capital Management, which is a vertically integrated pharmaceutical and consumer packaged goods company operating in the U.S. cannabis industry. Sea Hunter is uniquely focused on delivering high-quality and informative products designed to alleviate a broad spectrum of conditions to qualifying patients. The company is comprised of financial and operational executives, many of whom have years of proven experience in other state legalized marijuana markets. Sea Hunter maintains skill sets for every facet of marijuana production, including cultivation, processing, dispensary operations, which it allows to operate at the highest level of efficiency and safety in any segment of the market. I'm here today basically, with that said, on the application, we're looking for municipalities in this region, since there is no current medicinal dispensary or anything in the South Jersey region, the closest ones being an EHT in Belmar. The application is going to be due roughly by the end of the month, the 31st, which they will announce in November, to which licenses will be awarded. Not only am myself involved on the board of Evergreen Curative LLC, but we also have just got back actually a veteran from the United States Army. He's going to be the director of security. We have a 29-year-old quadriplegic African American who founded his own nonprofit in Philadelphia. We also have another local quadriplegic who's very known within his community, and he's going to be sitting on the board as well, in addition to a couple farmers that we've partnered with to procure the land. So at this time, I would just like to ask if, being as when Governor Murphy first took office, there was out in the paper that Lower Township was preparing to have any zoning ordinances maybe prepared for the legalization. I ask that if you have any procured already for any medicinal, and if you plan to allow it, being as that we are going to be having or anticipating to have the greenhouses located in Dennis Township, we're looking to co-locate for a dispensary, one of which the areas we were looking to co-locate was the opportunity zone at the airport. We were looking into that, as well as a couple other properties around this township, as well as West Cape May and Dennis Township. So I basically asked tonight that if you are going to allow it, would you be willing to write any kind of letter of approval for the license? If not, by the end of the month, we need to at least have a plan within 90 days of the application saying how we plan to attain it. And also, if you have any requirements that you are going to be instating for the zoning ordinances. So at this time, I open it up for any questions.
You want me to, real quick, since I was,
If I could just add a little bit, I think the dispensary, they're supposed to locate 2 of the new 6 dispensaries in the southern end of the state. As part of it's a vigorous application process to the state, but the application requires quotes. Written verification of the approval of the governing body of the municipality in which the alternative treatment center is or will be located. That is supposed to be submitted by August 31st. Now, the application, and I've read through it in pretty close detail, does allow that to be extended to within 30 days of the acceptance. So the applicant can say, hey, I'm working on a plan right now to get the local municipality's approval. But ideally, I think the applicant is seeking approval of the governing body in writing to put along with the rest of the application. I think, like I said, the application is pretty detailed, and then the state has employed like a scoring criteria for each area. And I think that's what the applicant's asking.
My thing is, I think we sent this over to the zoning board, and we haven't heard back yet from it.
That could be true.
Because that's where you heard, we sent
Yeah,
it
well,
over
I
to
saw
them.
that article.
Yeah,
But, I mean, not
want-
only that, but, marijuana has been medicinally legal since 2010. And I understand, obviously, it's up to the municipality whether they want to allow it or not. But at some point, there's got to be, a decision whether it is or not. And if there is, then we need to move forward. Because, time is of the essence. And, this is.
I know, but
something that's
this,
not
it's
gonna
August 6th, and
I know.
that's kind of, trying to get the zoning
Part of it
board.
puts the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse, in the sense that the applicants have to seek the governing
Right.
body's approval without really saying, hey, here's our application, governing body, here's the site, here's where we're proposing to dispense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the kind of,
They're putting you in a bad spot.
that-
We-
that's
Well, that's
the
kind of
dilemma
where
that the
the
applicants are in.
the zoning ordinance would be, where you can clearly put out what you want defined as where you're going to allow it.
Right.
And then there's so many areas that we could choose from, basically.
And-
And that's what we're looking for. I have, Sea Hunter has proposals I can give you from other states. They hold, vertical licenses in multiple other
Right.
states.
I'm just seeing if, I want to find out if the zoning board has,
I don't think that they haven't communicated back to me, or
I think
or
we're
to
at the-
Rob, to my knowledge. I think there are probably municipalities where Emmett would go to and say, hey, do you approve it generally? And the municipality may say no, or the municipality may say yes. We're not approving your specific site at this point because there may be zoning requirements, et cetera, et cetera. I think that all they need, again, is, or all they're seeking, and I'm not suggesting that you take any action one way or the other, but written verification of the approval of the governing body of the municipality in which the alternative treatment center is or will be located. That almost is asking for a policy statement, not to approve a specific site per se, I think.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is.
okay.
Or, that's the way I look at this application, and I think it's going to be somewhat tough for applicants to come in any town.
It's
Say-
going to get extremely.
We want your permission, we want written verification that you'll approve something that may be acceptable later, or something that may be acceptable to.
Well, that's at this time, is this just for medicinal purposes?
That's
It is.
exactly, this is just for medicinal purposes. I didn't even want to brush into the legal aspect, because that's the wall I ran into 8 months ago when I started this. You're asking, municipalities to draft zoning laws and codes based on laws that aren't even passed yet. But being as this has been passed since 2010, it's basically down to a yes or no on this aspect of the application. And that's basically what we're going out and seeking for at this time. I've already spoke to the Board of Dennis Township. That looks very promising. And I look to go to West Cape
Yeah.
May this week.
I mean, this is something that would have to be in a closed session
I
so we
think
could
what
legally
happened
discuss it.
is They expanded the illnesses for which the marijuana could be prescribed. When they expanded the illnesses, the state then said, we should also expand the number of dispensaries. We'll approve 2 in the northern end of the state, 2 centrally, and 2 ideally, 2 in the southern end of the state. But it was all tied into the expansion of the, what medical conditions marijuana could be prescribed for, as I understand the law.
What is the application deadline?
The application deadline
August
is
31st.
August 31st. And then there's a little bit of a saving clause, because if the applicant says, I don't have the approval yet, but it's in process and here's my plan, then the applicant gets a little bit more time. So you don't necessarily have to feel like there's a gun to your head,
You
We don't have to vote by next meeting.
Yeah, you have 30 days to obtain it after the due date of the application, but you have basically an explanation of how you plan to obtain it within 90 days, but you only have 30 days.
Okay.
Right, it says, if an applicant does not have site control or local approval at the time of the application, the applicant shall submit a plan to obtain site control and local approval within 30 days of acceptance. So it's really by November 30th, 2018, that the applicant would have to either have approval or at least the plan in place. So there is a little bit of flexibility, because it's a big issue. It's a
It
big
is,
policy
and
issue.
Well,
for
that's the
anything.
hardest part of all of these applications, is gaining the community support, and that's what we're well aware of.
And I would like to know what the zoning board has
Right, I-
thoughts on this before anything else.
There's still a week after.
It should be a closed session
Yeah.
issue next meeting.
I agree.
Correct, Dave?
Yeah, I
Closed
think-
session issue next meeting to discuss.
Okay, absolutely.
Appreciate the information. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you have any other information that you could pass on, for the more information we have, the better off we are.
Absolutely, yeah, I'll gather everything.
All right, anyone else for the good of the order? Seeing none, close the public portion and ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.